So here you can, this is like footage from early 2005. This is one of the first surveys made by the POSCO guys, and they are being accompanied by the Chief Secretary of Odisha, that was Mr. Subhash Pani then. So they, you know, with this footage, it kind of makes it very apparent how these things work. The two guys from the company come in this helicopter and they land in a place, and they are given this sort of treatment, nothing to do with the local people who are going to be affected by the company. They get a grand reception. This footage actually was given to us by me from the local mainstream media, whose channel was not ready to show this, so kind of passed it on. And what is very interesting about this footage is that, as you will subsequently see, that they are taken to a place which is not the real proposed site. They are taken to a nearby place, which is this, some wasteland nearby. The real proposed site is something else. The real proposed site is where there are villages, and there is a lot of agriculture happening there, and forest also. And they had this nice picnic, and after a while they actually just looked through the binocular at God knows what, and that was part of their survey. And if you actually listen to the conversation in this footage, it seems as if you know, they are kind of discussing the very trivial matter, and everybody around the table is saying that we can take this piece of land, we can take that piece of land, and don't worry about the forest, we will do afforestry compensation. And one gets a general sense of the absolute disregard for the law of the land. And this is Khandadhar waterfall, Odisha's largest waterfall, and the source of a major river. Now this is the mountain that's going to be mined for POSCO. It is an it's an ecosystem by itself. There is a very ancient tribe also residing on the top of the hill. So it's going to be a major ecological disaster if mining happens there. The POSCO movement has been primarily led by children, and if you look at the footage, you will see the participation of the children, and you can see that they are and these were the children who were beaten up yesterday. Since 2005, they have been here at the forefront protesting, and yesterday was the first time that they were beaten up, and it's a major transgression of human rights. In fact, there was a complaint against the movement to the National Child Rights Commission that these children were being forced to participate in the protests by their parents. But there was an investigation, and the Child Rights Commission said that these children have every right to protest, and rather the state, the police, has been has been camping in the school there, and has disrupted classes of the children, and has also been violent. There is a part where you can see, essentially, to get a feel of how the company has been and the government have been using different tactics of to terrorize the people. Either they use the police, and when the police doesn't work and there is too much of hue and cry across the state or across the nation about human rights violation, then you have politicians coming in and mobilizing local mafia, basically. See, this man is the chairman of Industrial Development Corporation of Odisha, and he is a well-known collaborator with the mafia. His name is Priyabrata Patnaik. They tried to first remove the protesters from that place, and when that did not work, they subsequently got a lot of goons. And there you see that out here, you can see a huge congregation of people. These are essentially outsiders. You can see one of their leaders out here. These are all hired goons who are armed with swords and bombs, and they are here to attack the women's camp. You can see here, this is a tent where people were camping for days and nights. It was essentially a protest of only women, And of course, after hearing that the goons are coming, even the men had come from the villages to protect, but these people started throwing bombs and attacked with swords. You can see that one bomb went, and after a while you can see the tent will be set on fire, and people were attacked with swords. In fact, there were a lot of women who were injured on this particular day. People had to, there's a river on the other side. A lot of women fell into the river and broke their limbs as well. And the thing is, in all these situations, the police essentially stops the media, like whoever from the media is interested to cover it, to enter that area. We have seen it in Kalinganagar, we have seen it in Niyamgiri. Whenever some action like this has to happen, the police first cordons off the area and does not allow activists and media people to enter the area. This was only because somebody there, a local person, had a video camera, that we got this footage. This is absolutely, the goons are making, and the women who had been beaten out of that camp have trying to fight out. You can see all these are all goons, trying to chase off all the protesters. But of course, much later, the same thing we caught on camera, the police was doing in the same place 3 years later. This is 15th May 2010, when the police had kind of surrounded Dhinkia and Govindpur and the proposed POSCO site. Everybody anticipated that there would be violence, because 2 days ago in Kalinganagar there had been a major crackdown on the villages, and one person had also died on 13th May 2010. So the media went up to ask our Chief Minister what does he plan to do, and he said that he believes in peaceful industrialization and there would be no violence at all. But at that very moment, Section 144 was imposed in Balitutha area, and you will see what will follow actually. And what we saw in 2007 that the goons were doing, the police had started doing the same. In just a matter of 3 years, the desperation of the company, or rather the collusion of the company and the government, had grown to this point that the police was kind of openly doing what hired goons were doing until then. This is footage from the public hearing for environmental clearance that was held in 2005. Interestingly, this public hearing was held far away from the proposed site, which is against the EIA notification, and very few of the local villages actually went for the public hearing because it was so far off. So there were a lot of outsiders out there with very little representation from the villages. And actually this public hearing, which is actually is not a valid one, is the basis on which the environmental clearance had been granted to POSCO in the first place. And you can see subsequently that even in the public hearing, there were a lot of hired, again, goons from POSCO who just disrupted the whole situation. This is the public hearing. Most of these people here are not from the affected villages. They are all from other places. Very few of them are actually from the proposed site. And here you see that is a hired goon again, who is protesting against an activist for speaking out against the company and saying that this will have massive environmental damage. So people were not even allowed to speak, and the mic was snatched away, and they're all goons, and they took over the stage and created a huge drama. And despite that, despite this, the environmental clearance was given to POSCO. You can see an activist being heckled and pushed away and not allowed to speak. This is footage from 2011 when at the same place where this incident happened yesterday. So this is the kind of human chain that was there yesterday, with women, men, having basically what they did was they made 3 different lines. The first line was the children, then the women, and then the men. But I'm just trying to give you a sense of how it is, how people are made to face the might of the state every single day in a situation like this. Essentially, the thing is, at the heart of this project is the whole fight between the whole neoliberal agenda, that is, and an older economic system of India. This entire proposed POSCO site is actually a very fertile multi-crop land where you have betel vine plantations, you have rice cultivation, and you have massive fisheries. In fact, this is one of the richest areas of Odisha, where people, the price of one betel leaf is 1 rupee, and for every betel vine plantation, it gives employment to more than 3 to 4 families. For them, if the POSCO project happens, then about 55,000 people are going to get displaced and dispossessed of their livelihoods. And that is what the fight is all about, that people are fighting to save a robust economic system, which is going to be totally decimated by this POSCO project.